we relate mostly to domestic animals, if we think of tens of thousands of years of human evolution where shamans were the leading figures, most traditions of shamanism involve links between shamans and animals. And a lot of the traditional roles of shamans were to do with knowing where animals were going to be when you were hunting them. And this identification with animals, which Native Americans did, and reading signs from the animal world, they're as old as human history. I mean, they really are deeply rooted in our ancestral memories, these kinds of links with animals. And so I think it's the tip of the iceberg of something vastly greater, which we hardly begun to explore. And so I think there's a huge area of understanding and research here that we're just touching the surface of. I think the fact that dogs and cats do it in a domestic setting is very important, though. I think one reason people keep dogs and cats is that we need a contact with the animal kingdom, that we need to have this bond with animals, which human beings have had all through human history. As hunter-gatherers, people had it through hunting animals. As pastoralists and as agriculturalists, people had it through herding animals, through keeping domestic animals. Even though there's no reason for most people in modern urban settings to keep animals, there's still this great need for this contact with the animal realm. One of the findings we've made, incidentally, is that when we've asked people about their own psychic abilities, we've found that pet owners claim to have more psychic experience than non-pet owners, and it may be the sides of human personality that living with animals can bring out in us. But again, these are things we barely understand, and there's been psychologists, for example, have paid very little attention to pets and what pets do for people and why they keep them. And partly because there's a taboo against pets, and I might just spend 1 or 2 minutes explaining why I think this happens. It's not my idea, it comes from James Serpell, who's a Cambridge researcher on animals, now at the University of Pensilvania. He points out that firstly that there's 2 categories of domesticated animals. There's dogs and cats and horses, which we look after, which we treat as almost human. We mourn them when they die sometimes. And there's another category of domesticated animals, pigs, cows, sheep, chickens, which are treated in a very much worse way. They're currently grown in factory farms. They have no respect whatever. Basically, the 2 categories are one lot consume pet food and the other lot are processed into it. We live in a society heavily based meat eating and to the exploitation of animals in various ways. Now, if you allow the feelings you have for your pet to spill over to other animals, first you'll become a vegetarian, and secondly you might become an animal rights activist. So since those would be dreadful things for society, there have to be taboos in place to stop this happening. This works is that if people talk too much about their pets and take them too seriously and begin to think too much about animals and the rights of animals or the nature of animals, then they can be put down by being made to feel that they're an inadequate human being. This is something that's just a substitute for a baby or for a proper human relationship. And this taboo is being kept in place, James Serpell argues, by making people feel inadequate as human beings if they talk too much about pets. And this is nothing new. In the Middle Ages, witches were persecuted for having relationships with animals, that usually cats, that lived with them. And so there is a deep-seated prejudice and a taboo in this area, and I think that's one reason why there's been so little research.